Welcome to Retro Scale Modelling. This is part 2 of Airifx's Supermarine Spitfire Mark 14 civilian schemes. Scale is 1 to 48. In part 1 I had a look at what was in the box. In this part I'm going to be starting the build, and I'm going to be starting off with the cockpit. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. To begin with, I'm going to be painting most things on this sprue, and the first colour that I'm using here is Umbro 78 cockpit green. Now, I should point out, I did it on the part 1 video, but in case you haven't watched this, I'm building two of these at the same time. So it won't matter at the moment, but as the build goes along, you may see two different schemes getting built. But if I'm deviating from a particular scheme, I will point that out. Next I'm using Umbro's 85 Coal Black, and this colour is for all the little dials and levers that are around inside the cockpit. I've decided to paint the figures and use them. First of all, there's just a little bit of cleanup to do. There's a bit of flashing around the hands, so I'm just trimming that off. There's one or two colours, so I'll go through them as I'm using them. The first one I'm using is River Aqua Colour 08 Matte Black, and this is for the straps and the goggles. I'm also going to be using that colour for the boots as well. I'm using a very fine brush here. I'm trying to get as close to the camera as possible. It is a 148, so it's not that small of a figure, but the camera is still finding it difficult to pick it up. Next I'm using Umbro 62 leather, and this is for the pilot's cap. I do like how Airifx supply these figures. Not a lot of companies do supply them nowadays, but I think they just copied and pasted this the instructions for this figure from their old World War II stuff, because this is for a 1988. And thinking about it, the pilot shouldn't have been done in World War II colours, which I'm painting in. I just realised that now. Next I'm using Tamiya's X19 Smoke, and this is for the lenses of the goggles. Now you can paint these gloss black if you like, but I do like the smoky colour because it acts more like a sort of shadowy glass, a tinted glass that you would see on a car or something. And I just paint that on direct onto the primer. I don't put any underlining colour off on it. And as I said, it looks like glass then. Going on to Umbro 61 Flesh, and this is for the hands and feet, of course. The main uniform is Umbro 155 Olive Drab, so that's everywhere really. And the last colour I'm using is Umbro 11 Silver for the belt buckles, and that's the figure painted, both of them, that is. Before I carry on, I'm going to do the instrument panel, so that's already been painted black, and I'm just placing on the decals. And as always, I soften them up in warm water first, then I applied a solution of microsol to the part before placing on the decal. Then I just brushed over a little bit more microsol, and this helps just conform it into all the little bumpy bits around the instrument panel. Base paints are dry now on the inner part of the fuselage, so what I'm doing here is I'm using Umbro's 56 aluminium, and I'm just going over the raised areas in the back part of this piece, just to give it a bit of weathering look. Not too much, just lightly place my brush over it to bring up those raised areas. Then it's Umbro 62 leather for the sides of the seats and the seat cushion. I'm surprised the side of the seat is this colour. I was going to put it into the green colour, but in the end you really can't see it once it's inside, so it's not that bad. But I think it's a strange colour choice. I'm starting to build the cockpit now. The first thing going on is the little dials and levers that go on the side panels. There's two in this instance, so they each have their own little location point, so it's easy enough to get them in position. And it's the same for the opposite side, but this one's a slightly larger part, and there's only one piece that goes in here. I'm not exactly sure what these pieces are, but if you can't get them in properly, I wouldn't worry about it so much, because if you put the pilot in, a lot of it is going to disappear. If you don't use the pilot, then just try and fit them in as best you can. Next, I'm making up the seat. So first of all, the two side panels go onto the seat itself. Now, I did actually forget to paint both sides of the side panel in the leather colour. So that sort of worked out alright in the end, because I would have had to wait until it dried before flipping it over and painting it. I can easily paint it once it's in place. These were a little bit tricky to fit. There is a little lip at the bottom of these side pieces to hook onto the seat, but there is a little bit of a strange angle, so it took a little bit of fiddling around to get them in the correct position. Next is to make up the framework that the seat sits on. There's two pieces to this. There's a triangular piece at the top and another brace at the bottom. Now this triangle piece, I actually put it on the wrong way. I had to take it off and put it on the opposite side. I wasn't 100% sure until I studied it a little bit more and realised my mistake. Luckily it had just gone on, so there was no issue with it coming off or leaving the plastic scarred. Next to go on is a lever at the side of the seat, and this goes on the outside of the seat. There is two location points for it. Make sure you get them in the proper position. They need to be in that position or it will not fit once it goes into the fuselage. So the seat then goes on to the backing plate, and that just sits on there. There is two little holes with two pins that come through. It's vital that you get those through there, because you need those pins for the seat to fit onto the main housing. The two pins come out and go inside the location points of the second square bracket that I put onto this housing. And the bottom of the seat, there's another two location points for the seat to rest on. So there's only four little points that this seat's attached to. So be careful when you position it, because it really does have to be in the proper position. So next is the control stick and the rudder pedals. Now, if you're putting the pilot in, you don't have to put in the rudder pedals, but put in the control stick. There's a little bracket that forms on this mechanism. Again, there's two little pins that go through it. You may have to open up the holes slightly if you haven't cut them clean off the sprue, but be very careful when you're doing that, because again they can snap, which obviously would not be good. Placing these on square again is important, because if you don't, they will not fit inside the fuselage. So all these little points really must be done accurately and 100%. Next is the instrument panel onto the bulkhead. This was a simple fit. There's two little location points for it to sit into, and then I can attach that to the side panel. The location points for these means they're just a long slot, so you can just push them in. It's difficult to get this wrong, so it was an easy enough assembly point. Next is the controller's mechanism. This goes through the bulkhead as well as onto the actual panel. You have to get this in the proper position as well, because that bracket that goes onto the side panel, the opposite side goes onto the other side panel to form the brace of the whole cockpit unit. I was then able to put the two halves together. If you're doing this, you may want to not wait until it's 100% set, the control unit, just in case you do have to maneuver it around. I didn't have any problems, but there may well be if you didn't get it in the proper position to start with. Next is the seat, and that just slips in the middle. You can see where the location point is, just where my thumb is now. The unit just slips in between them, and it should sit flush. Next part to go in is the panel or bulkhead for the feet well. This goes on at a slight angle, but there's a little rigid, again, of plastic to hold it in, so it shouldn't be a problem. Then we have the next bulkhead going in. Again, like the seat, that the location points for them enables it just to slip in without any hassle. And then the last bulkhead goes in right at the end. And I didn't have any problem fitting this one either. So the design of it sounds a bit complicated, but it works really well and makes up a really nice unit. Last to go in is the pilot. Now, this was a very tight fitting. If you find it's too tight, don't be afraid to cut off the legs where the boots are. That way it'll fit in. I did cut the legs off one of them to place it in. You won't see the legs anyway because there's so much detail in there and it's all covering each other. Now the pilot's in, I'm placing on the arms. Now I'm doing this at last just so that I can get the proper position from the hand to the steering stake or the control stake. That way you're not bending everything out of position. And the other hand, I'm just stretching it out to the actual control panel. I don't think it's really meant to go that way, but I got a nice angle to it, so I thought I'd leave it like that. And when you look inside the model, you'll see the pilot operating the aircraft, which I thought was a nice touch. And once everything's in, I'll just touch up a couple of bits of paint, and this is where I'll end part 2. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date, not only with this build, but all my future builds as well. Hit that like button. Don't be afraid to leave a comment. And of course, you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.